Hello and what is going on, lovely people of the internet? It is Hootmoney here with another video for you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and just how high it could potentially go in this cycle. Just this past week, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high at $69,000 per Bitcoin. LOL. Haha, what a great new all-time high right there. But anyways, there's tons of reason to continue to be bullish on Bitcoin because inflation is simply going absolutely insane. And if you guys don't mind leaving that early like on the video, that's very highly appreciated. But what I wanted to show you guys right here is that this was released just 2 days ago. The US consumer prices jumped 6.2% in October, the biggest inflation surge in more than 30 years. And guys, this has been happening throughout 2021. We keep breaking new records. Just the other day, it was the highest inflation surge since 2008, right before the big financial crisis of 2008. So inflation is going absolutely crazy, and with that, the hedges are simply put would be either something like a commodity such as oil. That would be a good one. Silver, that's another good one. Gold, another good one. But more importantly, Bitcoin, because unlike silver and gold, Bitcoin's price isn't manipulated by banks and institutions. So Bitcoin is more of the people's currency, and it's more of a true representation of inflation, in my opinion. And I think that they're completely underestimating even these inflation expectations, because the consumer price index only puts so many goods into the basket that they judge on CPI. There's so many other goods that don't make it into the CPI calculation that have gone up like crazy, including Bitcoin. So I think inflation's a lot higher than what we're seeing here in the official reports. Obviously, the Federal Reserve, their job is to control inflation. So their reports are probably going to be lower than actual real inflation numbers, right? Because if they're doing a bad job, that looks bad on Federal Reserve, which in result looks bad on the federal government, even though they're unaffiliated parties. Now, I have 3 different models here showing that Bitcoin could potentially reach up to $250,000 in price within this current bull cycle that we have going for Bitcoin. But before that, I just wanted to take note of the sponsor of this video, which is Moomoo.com. It's an all-in-one stock and investing brokerage where you can invest on multiple different exchanges, not just US exchanges. You can do Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, European, you name it, you can do it on Moomoo. They also have an amazing promotion going on right now where you can get up to $3,500 in free stock as long as you deposit $1 on their platform. You can see the promotion on the screen right now. They're also giving away up to $10,500 if you deposit $2,000 on their platform. So this is by far the best brokerage promotion that I've seen, and I've had a great time using it so far. They don't do any payment for order flow. They have a free level 2 data. So it is definitely a very, very solid brokerage. And again, they have an amazing promotion. So you can find the links to sign up in the description or in the pinned comments section. They also have a very nice, easy to use mobile application on iOS and Android. So even for mobile users, it's worth signing up and checking out. But without further ado, let's get right into the rest of the video. So the first thing that we're going to go over is a Fibonacci retracement analysis. All right, so we can look at past cycles, and the fault of this analysis, I'd say the risk of this type of analysis would be that history doesn't always repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So when looking at something like this, we don't know if it's going to exactly follow something like this. So 250,000 would just be the estimate. But we know that history often rhymes, and we're also going through the largest inflationary period ever. So in my opinion, I do think that this is very, very possible. Now, I'm not trying to predict the day-to-day movements of Bitcoin because that's a lot more difficult, but just looking at the current chart right here, I think it is a bit overshot. I think it's due for a little correction right now before getting its next leg up. We haven't really had one in a little bit, and yeah, I do think that we're due for one because usually Bitcoin does in fact correct. Now, let's go look at some of the older cycles. So this is the 2017 cycle right here, and we have weekly candles on the chart. As you guys can see, in the 2017 cycle, Bitcoin only hit 18,000 right here. I guess 19,000 for 1 week, and then the next week it sold off and it never got to that level again. we can also look at the previous cycle back here as well. The same thing happened. Bitcoin got to an all-time high. It only really stayed there for about a week at $1,000 per Bitcoin. Then it sold off again, and it has a little dead cat bounce, a few dead cat bounces, but still it never actually remained at that position. So when we go back to the current cycle, we can see that Bitcoin actually stayed up here at this all-time high of around 50,000 or so for a few weeks. So this is very unusual for Bitcoin, and this is likely why this situation right here was not the actual all-time high for Bitcoin. And as you guys can see, we've actually breached that, reaching new all-time highs. So usually what happens if we did go above that previous all-time high, there's likely a bit more upside in Bitcoin. Another thing that I wanted to say is that if we look at the price where Bitcoin started this rally at, it was around $10,000 per Bitcoin, and you can see it goes up and stopping at around $60,000 per Bitcoin. If we go back to the previous cycle, you can see right here, this was at about $1,000 per Bitcoin before it started taking off roughly. And then right here, we can get to the lower half of the Fibonacci band. It goes up about 5x to a high of about $5,000 per Bitcoin. So we got about a 6x here, maybe even a little bit higher if you said this started at like 12,000. It's around a 5x from where it actually started its bull cycle, right? So that would put us into this gray zone here on the Fibonacci band, and this 78.6% level would be essentially where we were at February through about May. And as you guys can see, there wasn't really a period where it actually sold off before rallying up, unless you were considering this. You can also see right here, when it hit that 78.6% level, it was about $5,000 per Bitcoin, and it goes down, it corrects to about 50% of that, around $2,800 per Bitcoin. Well, you can see the same thing right here. It goes from 60,000 down to about $30,000 per Bitcoin. So it seemed like a huge sell-off at the time, but if we're looking at history, that sell-off is actually pretty normal for Bitcoin. And you can see after we got that sell-off, it was almost a straight shot right up to this 61.8% level, or $8,000 right here. So that would imply that we get up to the 61.8% level right here, and the next resistance would be around $100,000, but that wouldn't be necessarily where the cycle ends, even if we do get a large sell-off back down to something like $70,000. So then we can also see right here, if we scroll up, Bitcoin's highest that it would go would be about $250,000. And this is where it would parabolically rise up and then immediately sell off. The odds that you can actually sell your Bitcoin for this amount when you're in this red, and this would be the bubble territory right here, is very, very low. Most smart investors will end up taking profits anywhere between 150,000 all the way up to 250,000, but the likely scenario is that you won't be able to sell it for exactly 250,000 on the dot. And it does seem pretty crazy that this is a possibility, but keep in mind that it won't really remain in this area up here all that long. If it does go up there, it would probably remain there for less than a month, probably 2 weeks tops. The next model that we have here is a logarithmic regression model called the rainbow chart, and I've looked at this a few other times on this channel, but essentially what it does is it shows where the halving is. So usually the halving is when you get these fire sales. It's been like that every single cycle so far, and then you will eventually get to this place called the bubble territory, and this model predicts that the bubble territory would also be around like 210,000 all the way up to 230,000 right there, and that would be implying that we get there by around Q1 of 2022. The next model that we have right here is the golden ratio multiplier, and this has the 350 moving average of Bitcoin, and it multiplies it times what is called the golden ratio. So that's 1.6, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. So this doesn't really have a future projection of what exactly Bitcoin could hit, but right now here in November, it has the highest that it could go at $132,000, and that would probably be the easiest time to sell Bitcoin. But we have seen in previous cycles it actually goes above this, and you can see by the dotted lines right here that it typically does go above this and only hits that all-time high very, very briefly, like I was mentioning mentioning earlier, for about 2 weeks. So it likely will go a bit higher than this. And as you guys can see, this is an exponential chart right here. It's not a linear chart. So it likely could go to about 250,000 if it does actually branch up over that and go into bubble territory, where it would be around that dotted line region. The last model that we have here is a stock to flow model, which takes into consideration the scarcity of the asset. It's been used on other common assets that have scarce resources such as gold, silver, etc. And as you guys can see, it bases its analysis around the halving cycle. So it has essentially at the purple mark here, that's when every bull run typically starts for Bitcoin. It happened here in March of 2020. That's when it started. Right here in June of 2016, and then right here in November of 2012. So you can see right here in December of 2017, it peaked out around the green area right here, and then in 2014 it also peaked around the yellowish green area. So we're in that yellowish green area right now, but typically it does go over, it shoots up over that stock to flow model by just a little bit. So although this has it peaking out at around $78,000, it likely will overshoot that by a bit. And that's a common theme here in multiple models that I've looked at, that Bitcoin typically overshoots what it should be intrinsically worth and only stays there for a little bit. It typically will shoot up, overestimate it, and then crash right back down and revert to the mean, which would be this stock to flow model. So even if Bitcoin does end up going above this, and keep in mind, this is an exponential chart right here. So if we get to like this area on the chart right here, it would be at around $250,000. So if it does overshoot the stock to flow model like it has done in the past, and keep in mind, we've had the highest inflation this year than over 30 years, then it will likely peak out at around 250,000, then essentially revert back to about 80,000 by January of 2023. So can Bitcoin really hit $250,000? Yes, I do believe that it could hit that in this cycle, but the chance that you can actually sell it for that much will be very, very slim. Guys, it'll be within a very tight time frame that it actually hits its peak, and it'll likely sell off very, very quickly. And this is based off of a historical analysis. That's what Bitcoin has done in its past. If we look at the recent cycle that we're in right now, what happened in March to June of 2021 was an anomaly for Bitcoin. We had never seen Bitcoin really chill at its all-time high around $60,000 and $50,000 for multiple months before. It usually within 2 weeks will hit its all-time high and immediately start crashing down. So that is why I believe that we have not peaked out on Bitcoin. I think that it's probably smart to start selling your Bitcoin around the $100,000 all the way up to the $200,000 range, because timing the market perfectly will be hard. So you can scale out of your position little by little. And yeah, with inflation at an all-time high, the highest that we've seen since the 80s, I think that there is probably a good chance that Bitcoin has a bit more juice left in its tank, and it seems like some of these models do agree with me, especially the Fibonacci model and the Rainbow model. Both of those models have it peaking at around $230,000 to $250,000. So that's all I got for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, I kindly ask you leave that like on the video, subscribe for more content, hit that post notification bell down below. That's about it. If you guys wanted to check out Moomoo brokerage, the links are below in the description or in the pinned comment section. You can get up to $3,500, $3,500 for depositing at least $1 on their platform. And if you wanted to deposit $2,000 on their platform, you can get up to $10,500. And then if you don't like it, you can just withdraw your money right away. So that's all I got for the video. Check out those links using the description or pinned comment section down below, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Peace.